Hello everyone. I'm joined here by Charcoal.
Yo!
And yeah, this is the ODL Phalanx Season 3 Week 2 weekly recap. So, looking forward to it. We had a lot of fun matches this week. And hopefully this works. If I... Ooh. Huh. I think I have it minimized, that's why. Wait a minute. There we go. Not scuffed at all. Welcome, Soup.
20 years later.
Welcome, TBL. All right. So, yeah, we start out with my matchup. I looked at the schedule, and my matchup's actually the top of the it's like first in queue for the first 7 weeks, I think. So pretty much every season or every week starts with my matchup. I didn't do it that way intentionally, but it is what it is. So yeah, this week I went up against Alberto. I was 0-1. He was 1-0. And you can see I have a pretty hard Trick Room team here with Volbeat as a Tailwind option if I want it. But the only real mon that can benefit from that Tailwind being Tauros, while he has a very good Tailwind setter in Talonflame and a pretty strong duo that could shut down my Trick Room potentially with Dusclops and Golurk, who I knew, particularly Dusclops with Imprison, could be problem for me coming into this. And yeah, we have just a note, Terrorban Mons being Ursaluna Bloodmoon, Sneasler, and Alola Ninetales. So let's get into it.
Oh yeah.
So I lead with a potential Tailwind option. I get off the Intimidate, but he gets off the Frisk. So immediately sees that I am Covert Cloak Tauros, which is a little unusual on Tauros, but he's able to figure that out right away and learn that actually I'm not Covert Cloak on Volbeat. I'm Lagging Tail, which means I'm probably going to trick it away and give it to that Dusclops or maybe Sneasler. And he protects Sneasler turn 1, which is a little weird, but it means I can get a free trick off, and I can I eat a Nightshade, but the big part is that Dusclops now has Lagging Tail. Zen Headbutt does nothing into Protect. As he switches into Talonflame, I forgot to set to slow, whoops. And then I set up Tailwind, which is pretty nice for me. And I Zen Headbutt again, so I was planning on outspeeding and killing Sneasler, but it doesn't really work out for me here. And it's okay, though, because I'm able to weaken Talonflame with my Lunge, and then Raging Bull do quite a bit to Dusclops. As Blyzrd comes out and does almost all my health, but I live because of Lunge. And then he sets Trick Room the turn after I set Tailwind, which is really unfortunate. But it means I can switch out into Porygon because I want to get a good Trick Room on. And then I Encore him into Trick Room, actually, as he does a little bit with his Blyzrd. And he reverses the Trick Room that he set up, which is really, really fun for me. He switches out because he doesn't want to be Encored again. I Lunge, which doesn't actually kill, even though he's very low, because it's 4 times resisted, as he picks up the kill with a super effective hit, and almost goes down, actually. I'm able to get Frostlass extremely low here, as Tailwind expires, so now I can set in Ursaluna, because I'm able to set up Trick Room and get a double kill here with Hyper Voice. A very kind of clear, easy play, right? I could Protect here, theoretically, but I mean, why wouldn't I get a double knockout instead of Trick Room? But he goes for Destiny Bond, and I completely forget about that. He goes for Blyzrd, which doesn't really do anything, theoretically. But I only get 1 kill instead of the 2 for my differential. Protect would have meant that I could get both, hopefully. and I go down. So it's now a 2v2. And even though Trick Room is up, and he has the slowest mon on the field, I am definitely I definitely have the upper hand because I have Terra Ghost Shadow Ball, which should OHKO Dusclops, and I have Zen Headbutt, which should OHKO Sneasler, unless he's Sash. So I should be in a great spot here. He goes for Fake Out, even though I'm Covert Cloak, and he did just frisk Covert Cloak for a second time. So this is a huge blunder on his part. He should have very easily known that I was Covert Cloak. Maybe he actually forgot a Terra here, so Covert Cloak would have been great into Porygon. But it's just a very unfortunate play on his part. I go for Shadow Ball, and again, because I didn't Terra, it doesn't quite pick up the kill. Meaning, even though I get off Zen Headbutt, I actually lose a Mon here. So I've kind of screwed myself with differential a few points here, even though I should be guaranteed to win this game with the Shadow Ball. Again, don't really need to Terra at this point, but I screwed myself on differential by picking up that unnecessary kill with Destiny Bond and not picking up that kill at the end with Shadow Ball.
Yeah. And I will say that there's a very, very good chance that that Alberto can still win if he does fake out the Porygon slot. And I mean, even though you should have Terra Ghosted there, theoretically, because you didn't Terra Ghost it, a fake out would have been very, very costly if it had gone into Porygon instead of the Tauros.
Yeah. Moving on to game 2. I had a strategy that worked pretty well. And so it's kind of like in a situation where strategy works well game 1, typically it's up to the person who lost game 1 to find a way to counter it. Otherwise, the game 1 person can just go for the same thing. Maybe they can mix it up if they feel like there's an obvious answer. But I don't really. So I go for just kind of a Trick Room and just a hard hitter lead into his pretty fast lead, all things considered. So it feels like he was kind of anticipating a switch up on my part, I would assume, because he didn't lead Dusclops, who's like his best answer to my Trick Room. Leading Ninetales is smart because AV, and I did quite a bit of damage into his team pretty easily. So he wants to help kind of defend his team. But I do have Rock Slide on Raj here that I'm very free to click. So he Terra Waters to protect and turn that OHKO into easily a live on Talonflame's end. And then he goes for Terra Blast here. So he told me afterwards that he was choice banded and would very easily OHKO Kaparaja here, but with Flare Blitz. But he decided to go for Terra Water, Terra Blast instead, and that was a misplay on his part. So he only does under half my health instead of knocking me out turn 1. A little unfortunate for him. And he sets up AV, obviously, as I can do quite a bit of damage with Rock Slide, hit both. Not as much damage as I might have wanted to deal, just because of that Terra, but I get up Trick Room, so I'm in a good spot. I can freely click Rock Slide again, get him pretty low, and then I can also pick up the kill on Talonflame, which is really nice. And then he lets off a Blyzrd, which doesn't do too much, but it freezes Garage, and that's really annoying, because I had Stealth Rocks on this set, and I was really happy. Like, I was just really waiting to click it. I didn't want to do it this turn, because I wanted to pick up the kill, but I was like, all right, after, like, once Talonflame goes down, I'm clicking, for sure clicking Stealth Rock here, on whoever switches in, right? And then he pretty much can't switch out.
Especially because, like, if he did switch out Ninetales, switching it back in would just instantly kill it.
It would, yeah. It would take a quarter of its health. And so that's why I clicked Rock Slide before. I mean, Stealth Rock would have been a fine play as well, I guess. But yeah, I think the freeze is it's whatever. He sends out Sneasler and
I turned him said, bro, it thinks he's in singles.
Yeah. It's a shame I wasn't able to actually click Stealth Rock, but it's a fun move to bring in VGC for sure. So I'm pretty much forced to switch Raj here. I could keep it in and just kind of let it die, or just let him, or just like play a 2v1. But I think that's very dumb. And I also want to get rid of his AV as soon as possible with my Raging Bull. So I send out Tauros here, even though Tauros is somewhat fast. Not compared to his team though. I get off the Intimidate too, which is really nice. And he goes for Fake Out, and I actually don't Terra here, so he flinches me. And he's able to get off of Blyzrd, which does another decent chunk. But without the freezes, it's not really doing too much. And I learned from the past 2 turns that this is probably not a super strong Ninetales, or maybe it is it does have a decent bit of investment, and it's just not a super strong Pokemon. I know its special attack set's not crazy high. So he's not really doing too much damage. I was fine letting him get off another Blyzrd here. And so while he protects Sneasler, I go for I go for Recover actually. And then I Raging Bull to get rid of the screen. So that Protect works out really well for me actually. And at this point it's kind of like too little too late on his part. Because it's a 4v2. So even though Frostlass is a great Pokemon, I'm able to OHKO Sneasler with my Psychic. And Raging Bull actually misses because of Snow Cloak. I forgot about that. But his Blyzrd does not do that much into me anyways. Trick Room goes down, but it's a 4v1, and Frostlass is extremely frail. So he gets off a Shadow Ball, which doesn't even kill. I can Raging Bull, get him down to Sash, and then click Shadow Ball for the kill. Or set up Trick Room, and then Shadow Ball. Maybe I was concerned about a Terra. No, he was Terra Ice. I don't know. Don't really know. Maybe Destiny Bond, because I was afraid. I don't know. But
yeah, you're just a silly dude. By the way, to address the stuff in chat, yes, we do play best of 3 because I know all you guys in Hoplite have your best of one, your just one game that lasts 30 to 100 turns. Unfortunately, we don't. Unfortunately for you guys, we don't play that long. Also, I do really like the comment that Cybon said that best of 1 would be so lame. Prep for an hour to play just for 3 minutes.
Yeah, no, I think best of 3s are ideal for VGC. I get imagine someone has a stall-based team and you have to play a best of 3 in that. That would be hell in singles. But in doubles,
yeah.
It's almost always better to do a best of 3.
I also think it's really funny because I believe they did a best of 5 for the Hoplite finals.
Oh yeah, that would be hell.
I really want to know how long that took.
Me personally, I'm not a singles player. I can see the appeal for sure, but when games go a long time, I can't sit through it. So, that was the first matchup. It was nice to get a win under my belt. Alberto already won week 1, so even though he did lose this matchup, he's still neutral in his record. So that's actually a pretty nice thing about being so early in the season. Is once you have 1 win under your belt, then you feel like, okay, well, I'm 1 win behind first place. You're not really that far behind, and it's very easy to make comebacks. So I actually think this isn't too bad for him at all, and he's already focused on making some more improvements to his team. I ran max physical defense on everything on my team because he was a very physically attacking team, and you can see how little Ninetales did, even though I didn't have any HP investment. It was all defense investment. So he's already added 2 powerful special attackers. I love seeing people struggle and then try to make improvements off of it, and not just kind of accepting a loss and saying well, I got unlucky and I'm not going to lose next week. It was just terrible luck this week, whatever. I like when people face adversity and then try and improve off of it. And so I think he has already done that after this loss. Let's move on now. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, Cybon, we'll talk about that a little bit later. But I'm also sorry for your loss.
Let's move on now to Juvie versus Soup. I thought Soup's team was very strong before the season. I actually think I thought it was the best team before the season. He brought some interesting Pokemon this week, but they're all pretty good. And Juvie just kind of brought like the best of the best on his team, in my opinion. Like I think this is like probably the scariest 6 he could run, just because of his rain mode and how powerful that can be. I think Azumarill's maybe a little like a D tier mon potentially. I can't remember, but I think these are close to his top 6 mons on his team, anyways.
Yeah,
So,
I want to say Azumarill is like low C, like
that
somewhere
seems
in
to
the
make
C
more
tier, but
sense.
I'm not sure.
That's probably where I would put it if I could choose again.
Huge power is stupid.
Um, but it's a very powerful team, or 2 very powerful teams going head to head. And we have Scrafty and Comfey, both like not very good into Farigiraf. I mean, Scrafty's good into Farigiraf, but with their
Simon said that Azumarill was only 5 points.
yeah, I think that was probably a little too cheap for it. But that's how draft leagues work. I mean, you make some mons a little too cheap, and then you increase their price, and some mons a little too expensive, you might lower their price. It's just as seasons go on, we'll make some adjustments to these things. But we actually see Azumarill on the lead along with Scrafty, meaning there's Intimidate, and it reveals that it is Inner Focus Dragonite, which makes a lot of sense. I mean, but Fake Out could come out into Blaziken now, and Azu can maybe pretty freely go for Belly Drum here. I think there's kind of not a huge threat into it. Fake Out does come out into Blaziken, actually. Tailwind comes up, but it's a Play Rough instead. And that Oko's Dragonite, and that's a pretty bad spot already for Soup. Terra Poison on the Scrafty into the close combat, so that's a great play on his part because with the -1 and the resist, it only does 20%, even though Blaziken's a pretty strong Pokemon. That is rough. And then Thunderbolt only does 39. This is either AV or just like a really, probably just a really bulky Azumarill, because that's a super effective attack. Maybe it's just no investment on the boss's part too. And Knockoff gets rid of the Eviolite, but it gets the Static, which is pretty nice. And then Liquidation comes up and picks up the kill on Blaziken. So now Soup is just in a pretty bad spot because Azumarill got 2 big Okos in the first 2 turns. Even though Juvie has already committed his Terra and his Para, we haven't seen the 2 back Pokemon, whereas Soup is on his last 2. Thunderbolt comes out and almost kills with a crit, and then Frigg should pick up the kill with a Hyper Voice here, and he does. Is it Throat Spray? It is. Okay, so that's not bad for Soup, but there's no full Para, and actually the Throat Spray is great here because it gets rid of the item before Knockoff, so Knockoff loses 1.5 times of its attack. Arcalodon comes out though, and it's kind of not much Soup can do into this. I mean, these 2 Pokemon are not great into it. So a Follow Me here, and then Hyper Voice, just not quite able to pick up the KO on Scrafty. Electroshot actually works out really well here because of the first Soup because of the resist, and then a full Para on Scrafty also works out. It feels feels like it might be not enough, and Feint isn't quite able to pick up the kill either, which is really rough. He was probably counting on that picking up the kill. Then Psychic Noise comes out, which does not do much either. Not bad if you want to just test the damage though. It would have maybe been better to pick up the kill for differential, and just forced to see the last Pokemon, but he reveals the last anyways, which is Comfey. Doesn't have to do anything because Dragon Pulse is able to pick up the kill on Frigg.
Yeah, so pretty convincing game 1 by Juvie. I think like those first two turns very quickly dictated how I think this game was gonna go. It was just so dominant, and I don't think there was too much doubt after those first 2 turns, especially.
Yeah, that it was pretty good performance on Juvie's part, and it feels like there's just one issue that we're seeing on Soup's team that he brought, at least, maybe not with his team overall, it's just not enough offense to deal with these really strong Pokemon on Juvi's part. And so when you have Pokemon that maybe they're not the fastest, but they can hit hard and they can take multiple hits, if you can't either outlive them by like surviving their powerful attacks or out damage them by just killing them before they can get off attacks, then you can see like he kind of fell victim to just how strong these Pokemon are. And so we'll see how he adjusts for game 2. It is another Azu lead and Scrafty lead, and another Dragonite lead with Granbull this time for Intimidate, which is kind of nice because these two Pokemon are powerful. And it reveals a Jetpack on Scrafty, so Comfey is able to come out, which is actually maybe a little bit bad, just because Dragonite is on the field here. Hard to say though. It is a switch into Scrafty just to get another Intimidate on the Granbull, poor Granbull. And then a switch into Hydro Apple is a little interesting, because there's also weak to Play Rough, and it takes a lot from that, which is maybe not the greatest play. And then Earthquake comes out anyways, so feels a little weird to me personally, but I don't know. Comfey switches in as Frigg switches in as well on the other side, and then Terra Poison on Scrafty feels odd, and a Terra Steel feels odd here. Knockoff picks up the kill, and yeah, that was a waste of a Terra on Soup's part. A little unfortunate. Also, Terra Poison in front of the guy that just clicked Earthquake is kind of crazy to me. I don't know. Maybe he knew a switch was coming. A Dragonite gets sent up as Scrafty gets healed to full. Though, yeah, no, that causes him to live the Scale Shot he would otherwise die to. And he's able to get off a Hyper Voice as well, which doesn't quite kill Scrafty. So it means that actually, if that were a 5-hit Scale Shot, Scrafty would be dead here. So that it's a little bit of bad RNG on Soup's side. Though he is able to get off a little bit of damage on Comfey, which is nice. And Knockoff doesn't quite do as much damage as he was hoping because of the Throat Spray. Yet again, this is the second time Soup has been able to kind of masterfully avoid that knockoff damage. A hard switch because Scrafty's kind of in a bad spot here and maybe wants to reset that Intimidate or preserve him to kill Friggraff a little bit later. Then we see a Draining Kiss from Comfey, which doesn't work because of the Armor Tail and Dragonite. So a free Tailwind and Hyper Voice can just do a nice little bit of chip. Reveals also the Citrus Berry on Comfey. This hard switch out makes a little bit of sense because you probably expect to play rough, and you can weaken Azu a little, who gets healed back up to full. As Frigg just gets a nice bit of chip in, and a Liquidation actually does not pick up the kill on Frigg. Very nice for Soup, and he protects just to keep that Draining Kiss from being able to move. Azu loses half his health as Comfey goes down, and Azu does in fact attack into Protect, which is really nice, because it can't Aqua Jet, remember, while Frigg is on the field. So it is a hard switch out because he expects no priority moves. A crit and Arch does 72%, and Azu goes down. Pretty good turn for Soup, but Dragonite might just go down here. Or Granbull goes down here, actually. So it's now a 2v2, but Dragonite is in a pretty prime position here. Though Tailwind does expire, that could be the difference if it's a faster Calodon and a slow Dragonite. It depends on, or if it's just a faster Calodon in general. A Protect on Frigg here, and then Dragon Pulse as Dragonite manages to hang on and get off a Scale Shot. Oh, this is really tough. So our Calodon has stamina, so its defense goes up every time it's hit, meaning this probably won't pick up the kill, and Scrafty is able to go for Fake. This might kill, actually. Wait a minute. Hard to say. I don't think it does, though. Yeah, with 5 hits, our and the screen full, our Calodon lives at 3%. As Dragonite does have a speed boost, actually, could matter here. And a Protect by Frigg means it survives the knockoff. Have we already revealed if Frigg is faster than Scrafty? I believe it is, right? Yes, it is. It is because, or maybe Tailwind's been up all every time, but if Friggraph is in fact faster than Scrafty outside of Tailwind, then Hyper Voice would have sealed the deal here. Hard to say though. And it protects on our Caludon as Dragonite has to pick its E-speed target, and it picks wrong. And Scrafty reveals it is in fact faster. So Dragonite goes down. Hyper Voice doesn't quite pick up the kill on Archaludon because of the protect, and Archaludon can just outspeed and kill, revealing the power of item. But in a devastating loss for Soup.
Yeah, that's the brutal part about it, because by getting if he got the E-speed correct and gone into the Scrafty slot, then our Calhoun can't stop both Friggraph and Dragonite.
Yes, but I learned from Cybon in the chat they are actually speed tied, which is crazy. Because they're not at the same base speed actually. I believe Scrafty is 58 or something, whereas Frigg is 60. I don't know. I don't remember off the top of my head, but it was well played on both sides. And if that speed tie had gone differently, or that E-speed had gone differently, we might have seen Game 3. Hard to say who would have won, but it was just great play on both sides. I think Juvie did play a little bit better overall, though. So I think that Game 2 was great by Soup, though. After that Game 1, it felt like, oh, wow, Juvie's team feels pretty unstoppable. I mean, he has 3 Pokemon left, right, at the end, and they're at good health. And it's like, kind of, what do you do? And then he shows exactly what you do and almost wins. So I think it was a pretty solid effort on his part.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's look at TBL versus Pilza. This is a matchup I thought would be quite interesting because mainly because I had my eye on Araquanid here. Very powerful Pokemon. This is one of the mons that I put into a much higher tier than I would normally, just because of its potential, like to be great, especially in rain or on rain teams, but against rain teams as well. So I thought Archaludon had a pretty good matchup here, and I thought that Perish Trap wouldn't work as well with with Mimikyu on as an option here. It was a little bit less certain, especially against like a slower team. If we're out of Trick Room, then they will die after. So it doesn't seem super straightforward here for how TBL is going to approach this match. So I thought it would be a pretty good one to watch just because of that. And yeah, this was a great opportunity for Piloswine as well, actually, I thought, because King Gambit takes that super effective ground type. Gliscor's 4 times weak to ice, so I thought Piloswine had a decent chance to shine here too. So yeah, let's get into it. Good reminder on who can't Terra, which is the Volcarona, the King Gambit, the Annihilate, and the Mousehold. So immediately it's a Rage Powder from Volcarona, and a Taunt comes out, but after the fact, Bulk Up on Annihilate is very interesting because Trick Room just gets up, and Play Rough is ripped into the Annihilate slot. Rage Fist breaks the disguise only. Volcarona is able to get off an attack here, though, and Fiery Dance is over half to Mousehold and the special attack boost. Not sure if it could kill Annihilate beforehand, but definitely can now. And Beat Up only does 14% total to Mimikyu, which is shocking that he went for that. Maybe that was his only way to damage Mimikyu, and he just wanted to damage it.
I have no idea if this is like the truth, but like because of Trick Room like being up, sometimes like stuck at like sometimes you mix stuff up. I could be completely wrong. People please tell me if I'm completely wrong, but if Beat Up moves first, then that gets rid of the disguise, and then Rage Fist should probably kill in that
The
case.
only thing is that
According to
TBL.
table, the reason is even more terrible.
Uh,
Um,
well,
yeah, he just
table.
I did call it. I kind of called it. He forgot the trick room.
Oh, he just forgot Trick Room. Okay, I was about to say that if anyone knows the speed of TBL's Pokemon, it's TBL. Right, he can look at his his team and see how fast they are. So even though Pilsa might not expect the Mousel to be slower for whatever reason, even though it was already revealed, I think theoretically it could be a speed tie or whatever. But he should never. I think beat up doesn't make sense there. I don't know what his other moves would be. If it's running Thunder Wave, that's a great option. Maybe Taunt if you're worried about Swords Dance. Definitely not Pop Bomb because of the Flame Body on Volcarona. Maybe switching, but if you can't do any, if there are no good options, but beat up only just 14%, so definitely not the play there. And then a Follow Me on Mousehold here. As Play Rough picks up the kill, and it reveals Rocky Helmet on Mousehold as well, with plus the Life Orb chip, actually. Mimikyu is a little bit lower, so Ray Tracer would have died two either way, though. And then Fiery Dance does pick up the kill on Annihilate. Like I thought with that special attack boost, it definitely does. And then we have the two Terror Band Mons on the field as Perish Trap comes out all of a sudden. And then a Protect on Goth means it will survive the Kowtow, or evade it at least. Weather Ball picks up the kill on Volcarona. Very nice. Actually works out pretty well for TBL. Though Araquanid is now in with a turn left of Trick Room and with Rain up for another 4 turns. So this guy is about to be on Demon Time. He Terra Waters here. And he Liquidations into the Politoed. And this is a resisted hit. And it does 81%. And that shows how I knew, or how I told Pilsa, man, Araquanid is going to be good here. And Pilsa knew it. He already knew. I didn't even need to tell him. But Araquanid with, especially with Splash Plate, especially with Terra Water, especially with Max Attack, especially in Rain, that thing hits really hard. So 81% on a resisted hit is crazy. And he gets the defensive drop just because. Kowtow doesn't actually kill the Goth because of that Terra, which is really nice. Taunts the Gambit, which is a little unusual. Maybe expecting a Swords Dance. And then Perish Song does come up. Maybe a Protect as well.
Up. But I want to quickly highlight that Trick Room just disappeared, and we all know that Araquanid is currently the slowest Mon on the field.
Yep.
And we all know that if Perish happens, the slowest Mon will die last. Meaning, at this point, as long as the Perish clock runs out, Pills is going to win.
Yep. So he kind of TBL kind of puts himself on a timer here, whereas with Weather Ball, maybe you can pick up a kill on Gambit if you crit, maybe depending on your investment. Probably not, but who knows? Maybe he also has Trick Room on Goth that he wants to go for here. Who knows? But it is a Protect on Politoed, and maybe it is just a double Protect here. So we see a Kowtow. This game should be over, though, with the Kowtow Liquidation. This is the play. Just go for it again, and you will win. He actually hits the double Protect on Politoed, not on Goth, though. So Kowtow comes out, and then Liquidation. And now it is a 1 in 9 chance for Politoed to hit the third Protect.
By the way, that crit did not matter.
Yes. And he doesn't hit it. The reason he was going for this, I believe, was for differential, just because it was already over. But it is the correct play, I guess, because you know you're going to die. So if you have 2 Pokemon clicking double Protect, the odds of one of them getting the 1 in 3 isn't bad. The 1 in 9 is just hoping and praying, but it's the best way to try and save differential, I guess. So now with this pretty solid win by Pilsa after losing week 1 to Alberto, he does have the upper hand, and it's kind of the same problem for TBL that I mentioned earlier. Once you have a strategy that works pretty well and doesn't really have a clear sign of slowing down, you have to say to your opponent, hey, stop this. I'm going to force you. I'm going to keep running this until you can stop it. We saw Alberto wasn't quite able to do that in the game 1 matchup. We saw that Soup almost actually was able to do that game 2. He played, or he made it very close, and we'll see if TBL can do that in game 2 here. So it is a Politoed Ludicolo lead, just going for immediate offense into the Volcarona Mimikyu. Rage Powder, Ludicolo can ignore, and then an Icy Wind to break Disguise. Maybe that's probably just to break Disguise, is my guess. And then Weather Ball comes out, but into the Volcarona, picks up the kill, as Trick Room is able to come up here, actually. So even though he loses a Mon for pretty much nothing, Mimikyu has -1 speed, so let's say Politoed is min speed here, or would normally outspeed Mimikyu in Trick Room, or maybe like Piloswine or something else as well. Mimikyu can probably now underspeed them, which is really nice. And then Araquanid gets a free switch in, so not a bad spot for Pilza at all. And then a Terra Grass on Mimikyu after Pilza identifies that Ludicolo is in fact weak to Bug, so he goes for Leech Life here. It lives at 2% actually. And then Woodhammer picks up the kill on Politoed as Ludicolo, as he loses all his health, and then Ludicolo is able to pick up the kill.
Blast damage.
Huh?
As Mimikyu essentially takes Chloroblast damage.
Yeah, Mimikyu clicks Steel Beam, but loses half his health, and then is able to die even though he resists the hit just because of Rain being up and it being a stab move and Life Orb. And actually Ludicolo will die to his own Life Orb though. So it's now a 2v2, but Trick Room is up and Araquanid is in its prime. So Piloswine comes out, just a sitting duck for Araquanid, and then there's King Gambit versus Annihilate. Annihilate is not in a great spot here either, so Piloswine does just go down due to being undersped. Kowtow does a lot, and then Annihilate is able to get back a lot of his health, but isn't able to quite pick up the kill, which is really unfortunate. It gets a little recovery back, but it's just dead to a liquidation.
Yeah, and in his final form, Araquanid is able to pretty much just win the set for Pilza. So
yes, in 4 turns nonetheless. And he said he forgot to Terra. I assume he meant Terra Grass on Piloswine. Which
I think that makes the most sense.
I'm not sure what he went for, but maybe he went for a double up in the Gambit and would have gotten an extra differential. But I think the game was pretty much over. I don't know if it was, or if it would be possible for Araquanid to go down here unless like we get a Rage Fist crit maybe on Max Attack Annihilate into Araquanid here. Maybe. I'm not sure of those calcs, but yeah. Very well played by Pilza. And this is a good example of just having a threat and forcing your opponent to have an answer to it. And if they don't, then you can very easily just kind of win. So well played on Pilza's part. Especially because he is new to draft, so this is his first win in ODL. Let's move on to Charcoal's matchup. Charcoal, what were your thoughts going into this one?
Going into this matchup, I was very scared of Rillaboom and Primarina because this is the second week in a row that my opponent's Terraband Mons are stupid good into mine. Or at least my Ursaluna. So this week I transitioned from bringing sort of more of a Tailwind-based strategy to more of a Trick Room-based strategy.
Yeah, I can see the only real Mon that benefits from Tailwind, or if not Tailwind, from high speed here is Electrode and maybe Quaquaval, depending on his speed, but otherwise very clearly hard Trick Room.
Exactly. And Quaquaval can already just set itself up as far as speed goes.
Yeah, with Aqua Step.
Aqua Step if I need to.
It is kind of
And I kind of recognized that Skeldridge is kind of stupid in this matchup, and
yes.
just a little bit of foreshadowing.
Yeah.
But I predicted pretty much this, pretty much not maybe not exactly what he brought, but I think the only difference that I thought he could have brought was maybe bringing Gyarados with Intimidate, um, and as an extra little thing to just try to bully Ursaluna and possibly Skeldridge. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I would agree that Skeldridge is good here. Not quite Araquanid versus TBL level, but he is in a pretty good position to put in a lot of work here. I mean, you can see he has a great matchup into particularly the Rillaboom, the Metagross, and the Drifblim. And he is immune to the stat increases of Baxcalibur with like a Swords Dance or something like that, or Coaching or Bulk Up. So, pretty good spot here. So yeah, let's get into it. And you can kind of lead the reins with this one.
Yeah, so just immediately starting off with Grimmsnarl and Bronzong, just to try to immediately get just to immediately try to get a trick room off to set up whatever I've got in the back, and I quickly just thought that there's a decent chance that Infernape probably goes for like a fake out into Bronzong. So
And
I
you are Terra
forget.
Ghost on it, yes. Are you Covert Cloak on
I do.
Grimmsnarl?
I do have Covert Cloak on Grimmsnarl. So Grimmsnarl is safe, and
Yeah, with a Terra Ghost.
yeah, as an extra precaution, I do Terra on to Bronzong.
Meaning you are immune to Fake Out on both. Very nice position to be in, because Fake Out comes out and doesn't matter. You can actually Fake Out his Metagross, meaning nothing happens this turn except for Trick Room coming up.
So Trick Room coming up really benefits me in the long run, and already in my mind, I'm thinking I'm sitting in a pretty good spot right now. So it also really helps that I switched into Skeldridge because I also recognized that Metagross is actually Terra normal. I don't know. I probably shouldn't have Shadow Balled there technically, but I sent in Skeldridge because I know that Metagross is probably running an explosion set like he did in week 1. So,
But the Shadow Ball covers for him not tearing, and the switch into Skeldridge covers for him Terra explosioning.
yeah.
It's
And
very
also
unlikely to
Skeldridge
tear
is
without that.
Skeldridge is also just really good in Trick Room. So being able to get it out safely, especially into a mon that's weak to him and a mon that doesn't really do a ton into him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, except with like knockoff, pretty much.
Exactly.
But he goes for Hone Claws here, which is quite unusual, and Coaching. And we just saw that Metagross is in fact faster than these two, meaning he will not be slower or he will not be faster in Trick Room. So he can just die here very easily. And the Sunny Day sets up the Torch Song, even though Torch Song would have killed either way. It's just kind of in case theoretically Bronzong goes down, right? Not a bad play. Bronzong is not doing. Doesn't have anything else urgent it wants to do, so Sunny Day is not bad. I think also it means if a switch happens here, in theory, it would take a lot more damage.
Yeah,
like
that's
a
more
Rillaboom might go down.
That's more of what I was trying to cover for the switch and the possibility that because if Bronzong somehow does go down, then having that up is going to be really nice in the future, even against mons like Primarina that maybe don't take as much damage normally, but with some extra boosts, it really helps.
And with a Flare Blitz or a knockoff and a Bullet Punch from Metagross, I mean, Bronzong would go down here actually. So it's not a bad play. But Metagross goes down here, and there's a free special attack boost from the Torch Song. Fire Punch comes out and only does 16%. So this reveals a few things. First of all, an Infernape at -1 is not doing a whole lot of damage. Second of all, this is definitely heat-proof Bronzong because Sun is up and it's a stab move. I think 75 base power. Clicks Fire Punch into Bronzong only does 16%. That is nothing. That's that's pitiful. So
but yeah, so I didn't bring, because normally you would see Levitate, especially with Ursalunan next to it, but I actually did not bring Earthquake this week. So so Levitate doesn't really do too much, especially because if he thinks that I'm bringing Levitate or something like that, he might be a little bit more reluctant to bring a ground type move in the first place. So it handles that a lot more.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that's why heat-proof makes a lot of sense here. I think actually you were talking about like heat-proof as like an idea or something a little crazy. I was like, oh wait, that is a great idea.
Yeah.
You should definitely bring that here.
Let's keep going.
Yeah. And so he does send out Baxcalibur here. He's not in a great spot, honestly. But you switch out into Grimmsnarl, and he protects his backs because it is a little bit vulnerable. But the Shadow Ball, that was great targeting. You go into the Infernape, actually. And he just coachings the backs. Another kind of setup move from Oedipus here. And then Fake Out comes out into the backs as well. Torch Song picks up the kill into Infernape pretty easily, and you get the free special attack boost, so makes way more sense than Shadow Ball here. And then Bax is not able to move, but Trick Room does end, and Rillaboom comes out. Though, notably, Fake Out will not work on either Pokemon yet again, meaning your positioning is great, and it is a Grassy Seed on Skeledirge, meaning it's times 2 special attack times 1, or plus 1 defense, so it's in a pretty good spot despite Bax being +1 here. And it is a Reflect, which means you take even less damage, 12% from knockoff. Wow. And then Glaive Rush only doing 22 as well. That is just nothing. Oh yeah, you are unaware of that +1 boost. So your +1 defense plus the Reflect from two neutral Pokemon means
so
you're not taking anything.
+1 defense, ignoring the +1 attack with Reflect, and I also do have some defense investment. So like it's stupidly hard to take down Skeledirge in this sort of scenario.
Mm-hmm. And good shout, Saibon, and talking about heat proof of like it being a good ability. I think that's why Bronzong is a little underrated, and that's kind of why I made it more expensive than it is typically, because of the forcing the guessing game on is it levitate, is it heat proof. One of them gives you an immunity, which was previously a weakness, and the other turns the weakness into something that's neutral. So both great abilities, and both of which, especially with Terra, it turns that into a resistance, actually. So very good ability, and yeah, it looks like we're in prime position for a Skeletor sweep here as Rillaboom goes down. And there's kind of nothing left to this game because Bax cannot win it out. Parting Shot just tweaking a little bit more, and Torch Song to hopefully pick up the kill. Actually, the Parting Shot here is great because it reveals the clear amulet on Bax. So it works out very well for Charcoal because he's in a position where he'd win either way. So getting information is the best thing he can get. And then a Glaive Rush comes out, meaning it does die at a Shadow Ball because its defenses are halved. So Charcoal's able to clean up very easily. And then coming into game 2, do you have changed your thoughts at all?
I changed them up a little bit because obviously game 1 he did not bring Primarina, which going in I was very nervous about, especially because most of my mons are pretty heavily invested into regular defenses, with some stuff accounting for Primarina existing. But if it can get set up in the correct way, and depending on how much it has invested, like whether it's specs or like throat spray or whatever, with with like hyper voice, then it could go off. So I kind of adjusted, assuming that Pre-Marina was going to come out.
Makes a lot of sense. That's what I might expect too. I just keep it on normal speed. And a Rillaboom Drifloon lead means free grassy seed, meaning the Unburden gets off for free. And a Terra Ghost here, making you immune to Fake Out, which is really good. A Parting Shot comes out in Narilla, meaning you can switch into Quavel for free. And the Thunderbolt reveals Choice Scarf on the Electrode, which is a little unusual for such a fast Pokemon, but which is designed specifically to counter the fast Unburden Drifloon. Drifloon, not actually a very fast Pokemon, but with the Unburden, it becomes like the fastest thing on the field. Though Choice Scarf on a very fast mon like Electrode will still outspeed it. So, pretty nice prep there. And then Tailwind does come out, actually. So another hard switch into Skeletor just to get that defense boost. Well, Drifloon protects. Then U-Turn actually works pretty well because you get a free pivot out, though it does no damage. And Primarina comes out as Thunderbolt goes into Drifloon. Drifloon probably wants to get rid of this, so a Shadow Ball makes a lot of sense. So a switch into Grimmstorm makes a lot of sense. And then another hard switch into Quavel. Just a lot of hard switching on Charcoal's side. He has revealed his full team, but look, the most he has taken, he's taken no damage across the board because he healed back that a little bit. Whereas Drifloon has taken a lot, and he has, Oedipus has revealed 3 as well. Icy Wind does come out though, so the speed is dropped and reveals the Covert Cloak, which was already revealed. As Hyper Voice should do quite a bit here. Never mind, it really does not do that much. Because it was before Throat Spray, I guess. A Protect on Drifloon here. As Fake Out goes into Primarina. And Triple Axle goes into Protect, but overall not a bad turn because you stall out the last turn of Tailwind. Meaning you get a 3 Thunder Wave on Primarina. And outspeed it anyways because you kind of counteract that Tailwind boost. And then Triple Axle goes into the Drifloon and picks up the kill because all 3 hit. You get a free attack boost too, which is pretty nice. And Hyper Voice now is doing quite a bit of damage because of the Throat Spray being active. And Rillaboom comes out with a pretty powerful Grassy Glide as a threat. Electrode comes out, and it's a Fake Out into the Terra Ghost, so great play on Charcoal's part. As you switch back into Quavel, except without the Fake Out threat this time. Still the Grassy Glide threat. But no Fake Out threat is great, and a full pair on the Primarina is pretty brutal because we saw it did 38% into Quavel. So Quavel would be very low here, and Electrode would be also very low if the Hyperforce were to connect. Now he is in a position where he actually goes for a U-turn instead of a Grassy Glide. I feel like Grassy Glide would make a little bit more sense here, but hard to say. Maybe he just wanted to reset that attack drop. Is completely reasonable. Maybe he wouldn't even pick up the kill, depending on investment. I'm not quite sure. Though he should outspeed with Woodhammer. Maybe he's not running Woodhammer. So, I mean, there's a lot to consider. He switches out, though, into backs as Chloroblast misses, which is a 95% accurate move.
Yeah, and that would have OHKO'd, like, no matter what defenses he had. And at this point, I already kind of assumed. I think it was at this point I already kind of assumed that it was that Primarina was Specs.
It was Throat Spray.
Oh, it was Throat Spray. But it was pretty. In this case, it was.
He had a Specs boost worth of damage. I mean.
Yeah, he had a Specs boost worth of damage. But I kind of assumed that he was going to just keep clicking Hyper Voice. So not being able to just instantly kill it was kind of brutal for me. So yeah.
And then Triple Axle comes out into the back switch-in, which is a little, actually just more damage than you might expect. But Hyper Voice puts both of the Mons at 12 and 11. Ice Shard's able to pick up the kill because of that.
And that never happens without Chloroblast missing. So
yeah, but he did miss a Hyper Voice earlier too. So
yeah.
So he would have been in a winning position, and then he went into a losing position, and then back into a winning position. So
Yeah.
the RNG pretty
Fair.
much neutralized or balanced out. And then the close combat picks up the kill on Bax as it probably goes down to a Primarina. So it is now a 2v2, except the Primarina is +1 and is on the field in front of a fire type. And then Rillaboom has Grassy Glide, can do a lot to Grimmsnarl, and just can probably pick up the kill pretty easily if Primarina doesn't, anyways. Though a fake out does come out into Primarina, makes a lot of sense. And the knockoff here as well. Torch Dong does over half into Rillaboom. Very powerful attack. And I'm curious to see what happens here. Grassy Glide does pick up the kill, actually. Very nice. And despite the Torch Song boost, it should die to Hyper Voice here. And it does. So Primarina is able to clean up that game pretty easily. So game 3, any changes and thoughts?
Here I just decide, like, I'm not gonna mess around anymore with without like Trick Room up, because game 2 I definitely think Trick Room would have benefited me a lot. Maybe not as much like towards the end, but I definitely think at the beginning that would have helped a ton, especially with going into Drifblim. So I just immediately was like, yeah, I'm just gonna get Trick Room up, and I'm hopefully just gonna try to sweep, and yeah.
Makes sense. Also, look at this whole crowd. We 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people in the audience watching this. As a hard Trick Room lead from you and a very fast-paced lead from Oedipus. So immediately you're in a great spot. It feels like, though, Ursaluna is weak to grass and Bronzong is weak to ghost, even if Terra's. So maybe not as great a position depending on how Oedipus plays. It is a Terra Ghost immediately, which actually makes you gives you the exact same vulnerability to a knockoff Shadow Ball play, which should Oko Bronzong, I believe, depending on their investment. Though it is a Grassy Glide, actually. Not expecting the Protect on Ursaluna, which is pretty.
We're about to find out. We're about to find out if it Okos, actually. So.
No, I meant the double up from knockoff and Shadow Ball.
Oh, the double up. Yeah.
Hard to say. Depends on his item, depends on his investment, but
yeah, I think it also, because I did invest a lot into defense.
No, yeah, you should live. We're seeing this Shadow Ball damage, you should live for sure. Yeah, but it is a little bit of a wasted Terra. Though his wasted attack is a lot more valuable because you get the free Trick Room and the free burn.
Yeah, I think like I think it was worth the Terra because fake out into Bronzong
means you can't get a Trick Room, right? Because he can fake out Shadow Ball and then pick up the kill very easily from there.
Yeah, exactly.
So he goes for Protect, which makes a lot of sense, and the Shadow Ball goes into the Protect, though Facade and does actually just Oko Rillaboom. Also, the reason I'm saying should here is because it's been a while since I've watched these.
No, I mean, this, like, currently Ursaluna is literally just set up to just destroy everything, so...
Yeah. The Primarina is kind of scary here, depending on if you can play around the Ursaluna.
Yeah. And I mean, I already did all these calcs before, but I've calced for a lot of damage without damage boosting, like with Throat Spray, particular Hyper Voice, even if it's slower than Ursaluna, is actually not going to kill. So yeah.
It is a switch into Skeletor here, as Facade comes out and no Protect from Arena, meaning it goes down. Shadow Ball with the Terra Ghost only does 80%, which is a lot of damage, but it means Skeletor is able to hang on. And this is probably not a super special attack heavy Drifloon fight, I guess, just seeing as it only did 45 into a super effective attack in a Bronzong, and with Terra it only did 80 into Skeletor. And it is stab both times with Terra to boost that stab. So Bax comes out, though it is pretty weak to a Facade here. And it is a facade that does come out, as well as a Shadow Ball. And Icy Wind is a little unusual because there is another term of Trick Room left. Maybe he's hoping for the double protect here, which he is, and he does not get, unfortunately. So it will be Drifblim versus the World. His backs probably goes down here, and he does. So it is now a 4v1 in a very unwinnable situation.
Yeah, and then I just switch it out, like might as well games
differential. Yeah, if he Shadow Balls, then you actually do
differential.
lose a mon. So the switch means you don't. So it's smart for differential.
And unfortunately I don't get the win in game 2, but I get a full Skeletor sweep in game 1 and a full Ursaluna sweep in game 3. So fun stuff.
All right. So yeah, that was a pretty good game as well. We had actually a lot of pretty good games so far, and this was our first game 2-3, so that was fun as well. Let's move on to SMB versus Eternum, which is a very interesting matchup because we have kind of a hard Sunroom team here. Sorry, we have a hard Sunroom team here. Versus a kind of weird team on Eternum's side. It has like some straightforward ideas in the sense of like switching pure power with skill swap is very good, obviously. We have a lot of good Pokemon. Amoonguss forces a lot of prep with Spore. I mean, very strong mons like Arcanine, Espeon. A good Trick Room mon to kind of counter his opposing Trick Room. With the Snorlax, Greninja hits hard, so there's a lot of good mons thrown together, but it's not like there is no chemistry here or no synergy. So, without further ado, let's see the leads, and it is a very typical lead for an Aditi Armarouge team, which is just Aditi Armarouge, and it is Psychic Seed on Espeon, and Espeon could be carrying E-Force and be capitalizing on that as well, something to look out for. A Follow Me on Aditi as an Imprison comes out on Espeon, and when you see Imprison, you typically expect, right, imprisoning Trick Room, in this case, definitely. Imprisoning Expanding Force is really rough for Armarouge, and imprisoning Protect as well if it if the Espeon's running it.
And I believe that according to Eternum, after checking pastes, Armarouge had all 3 of those moves that you just listed.
Yes.
So
Armor Cannon was the only move he could click.
Yes, exactly.
And it is a Rock Slide, which misses Indeedee, hits Armarouge, activates the weakness policy, and then it's a flinch. And SMB confirmed that it was an Armor Cannon into the Espeon. So with that ×2 special attack, stab move, 120 base power, I mean, that even though it's +1 SPDF Espeon, it would have maybe killed. I doubt it, but it's hard to say. Not a great position for SMB off turn 1 by any means. And so a Terra Grass into Armarouge as there is another Follow Me on Aditi's part. E-Force comes out and picks up the kill because of the Terra. And then Rock Slide picks up the kill as well. So SMB just down completely on the back foot here as Gastro and Wordier come out. And the Intimidate happens. But a lot of damage from E-Force there. And a Solar Beam out of the sun from Arcanine. I mean, Solar Beam makes a lot of sense just because there is an opposing Torkoal, right? But in clicking it here, you probably just assume, well, I don't die to a ground move from Gastrodon, which is, or a water move, which are 2 4x weaknesses. I don't necessarily think that's a great play. I think with Earth Power, you just die. But it's a gamble, and if it works, it'll be great. So it is Chilling Water, which actually does not pick up the kill. So works out very well for Tournament. Let's just Protect here on Gastro, which he can't actually because of Imprison. So Earth Power or maybe Muddy Water would have definitely been the play here. It would have been a 2v2 instead. So if he were to Muddy Water. And then a Protect and Solar Beam as Gastro goes down, and Wordier can try and help the differential a little bit by clicking his signature move. Side Shield Bash, and then a Night Slash on Greninja does not pick up the kill. Never mind. Expanding Force on Espeon picks up the kill. and a very, very clean win on a tournament's part. I felt like he played well here, but it was more kind of like SMB was just not prepared for what he brought at all. I think at tournament, bringing the imprisoning those 3 moves that you can see listed here, or these 2 moves you can see listed and Trick Room, was very nice on his part. I think that was great prep, and there was just nothing that SMB could handle, especially with that really powerful, hard-hitting Arcanine, especially with the Life Orb, just does so much damage. And we'll see SMB is really forced to adapt in game 2 because that did not go in his favor at all. So it is a Wordier Torkoal lead, probably expecting a Trick Room on Wordier, right? As Intimidate goes up, but Medicham has Pure Power. And then we reveal that it's a Eject Pack, actually. So Snorlax comes out. That's a little unusual, but Snorlax not a bad mon into this Trick Room team, especially with Thick Fat here. Snorlax is just in a prime position. If it's AV plus Thick Fat, which we might see from damage roll, it just takes nothing from Eruption here. Protect from Torkoal just to help get up Trick Room, but a Flare Blitz into the Wordier does not pick up the kill, and Double Edge, so Wordier is able to get up Trick Room. Very, very nice here.
Yeah, that's very important.
Yes, because the Terra Fire Eruption should do a decent bit here, but SNB does not run Min Speed Torkoal because he didn't expect Snorlax to be brought, and this is a huge blunder. Instead of a 100% HP Eruption on Torkoal's end, it's now a 60%, which does way less damage. And with Thick Fat and AV, it does 14% into Snorlax, and that is brutal. That's just something that SMB, a mistake he can't afford to make in such a tough matchup.
Yeah, and especially because you can keep going. Especially because now Torkoal's just going to protect, because that Double Edge would have brought the Eruption down to only 20% of what it would normally have. So, and now he's essentially trying to stall at his own Trick Room.
Yeah, with a double protect.
And he does hit the double protect. So,
and it's a yawn into the protect, not into the Snorlax. As Medicham switches in, Double Edge picks up the kill because of the Terra Normal.
With the Terra Normal, yeah.
And Chilling Water into the Medicham is pretty much nothing because of the switch. It was not Arcanine. And then Skill Swap into the Snorlax, so it is now Pure Power and picks up the kill easily in Armarouge because of that. Switches out, and a Protect on Gastrodon is just delaying the inevitable. It'll be put to sleep here and killed very easily, despite the attack drop on Snorlax. And just extreme dominance on a Eternum's part. I mean, Amoonguss able to pick up the kill with an Oko Seed Bomb. That's pretty nice.
Yeah.
And he wins 3-0 and then 4-0 in back-to-back games. Very, very good performance. And I'm a little disappointed on SMB's part. I mean, not running Min Speed is just kind of shocking. It's just, you always run Min Speed Torkoal. Quite disappointing, and just wasn't ready.
He probably still doesn't win even with Min Speed Torkoal.
Oh, he had no answer for Snorlax. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's you can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
You should never not run Min Speed Torkoal because of moments like you see right there.
And then before we move on to our next game, the match between Cybon and Voids, it was a forfeit from Voids' end, which is a little unfortunate. Pretty disappointing that we already have a forfeit in week 2, but only one forfeit in 2 weeks is not bad as well. So let's just try and keep scheduling our matches. Hopefully we can schedule them early in the week so that we have time to get every match in, because it's annoying when people spend an hour on prep or maybe a little more and can't play. So
yeah, and especially because it's even worse for you because it's not a 2-0 loss for forfeit. It's actually counted as a 3-0 loss because it's also accounting for the fact that you don't know even if you got 2-0'd, you would still have a 0 mon differential. So you're guaranteed. So in this case, a forfeit win of like winning from a forfeit will still just result in a 2-0 win. But a loss will result in a 3-0 loss because that's at that point is worse than anything that could happen by actually playing your match.
Mm-hmm. So with that being said, let's move on to our final matchup, which is SMB versus Dori Masuda. Or not SMB, Saline, which is the team that beat me week 1. Spoilers if you haven't watched the video yet, which is up, by the way, on the channel. Versus Dori Masuda, who I helped prep a little, actually. And yeah, I kind of made suggested some tweaks too, including one we'll see right here, which is the Mirror Herb on Arbok, copying the Defiant boost that Passimian gets from the Arbok itself, putting it at +2 while Passimian's only at +1, so pretty good. Protect immediately on Passimian as Poison Jab comes into it, and actually it gets doubled up into. So a free Reflect on Sylveon's part is really nice. He probably expects the Poison Jab and Body Press. Again, the Body Press really doesn't do anything into Sylveon. Maybe the Poison Jab goes into Sylveon, but if there's another double up, Gholdengo is a perfect switch in here because it takes no damage from either. And a switch into Salamence actually to cover for that as well, though Mirror Armor reflects that Intimidate. And it is, in fact, the Poison Jab. And an Iron Defense, actually, from Corviknight. Hurricane does over half into Arbok and gets the Confusion, which means because of the ×2 attack, Arbok could, +1 attack because of Intimidate, it could kill itself, actually, with a Confusion hit, as Gholdengo gets a free Nasty Plot up. Ice Fang comes out into Salamence, though, and crits and kills. Should probably kill without that. But yeah,
because of the quad weaknesses. It should kill,
and it's +1
even probably without the +1.
Mm-hmm. But with the Rocky Helmet, it means Arbok is even more likely now to die to hitting itself in Confusion. And another Iron Defense from Corv, though it can only hit neutrally into Passimian and can't damage the Gholdengo with Body Press and can only do resisted hits into Sylveon. So it isn't clear if that setup is going to help it, especially against those 2 special attackers in the back. A Terra Fighting on Passimian, as Arbok does kill itself in Confusion, and Close Combat does nothing into that 3x defense Corv, despite the Terra Fighting. Though Shadow Ball picks up the kill because of the Nasty Plot, and Dori Masuda takes this a great position and is now on the back foot immediately with Cryogonal and Dragapult. A Terra Fire on Cryogonal, and a Protect from Gholdengo, and despite the Terra on Cryogonal, it goes down, and Passimian is Dragapult is now in a 3v1, though Passimian's -2 on his defenses. And a Phantom Force is pretty interesting from Dragapult as well. A switch into Sylveon, and a double Protect from Gholdengo.
Now that should be a mistake, because I feel like
because Phantom Force breaks Protect.
Because Phantom Force will break Protect. Yeah. And it should be able to OHKO the Gholdengo.
Because it's super effective, and that's exactly what happens here. Though not necessarily a terrible position, because Passimian's able to get all of its defenses reset, and Sylveon's super effective into a Dragapult that can't Terra. Plus, if this is choice banned, which is not actually because it clicked Protect, but it could be running Knockoff and wants to click that for free into Dragapult as well, which he does, and he does a lot of his health, and Phantom Forces away from the Hyper Voice. The Knockoff can't do anything, obviously, and Phantom Force does not quite pick up the kill on Sylveon, so it is a pretty clean ending for Saline, though the differential on Gholdengo is a little bit nice. It was pretty well played on both ends, honestly, until Passimian was able to get that surprise KO, and Gholdengo was able to get the surprise KO. Just 2 things that really turned the tide for Saline here. Moving into Game 2, I'm going to see some adjustments on both sides. A Gholdengo Salamence lead this time, and Incineroar Rotom. So just 4 different Pokemon, I believe, actually. Yes, 4 different Pokemon. Very fun. as a immediate switch into Sylveon, the fake out into Salamence, who takes some from the Rocky Helmet, and another switch from Rotom into the Cryogonal, which is great into Salamence, who can't move actually. So the the only bit of damage dealt was from a fake out and full switch, so not a whole, and I guess Rocky Helmet, so really not much damage dealt turn 1. And then he switched to Passimian for anticipating an ice type move here, though Light Screen is great because it takes nothing from the Hyper Voice now from Sylveon, who gets his Third Spray immediately neutralized by Parting Shot. Close Combat picks up the kill, no surprise, we've seen that before.
Hold on.
This is Scarf Passimian, right?
Never mind.
Another thing to note, this is Scarf Passimian. We saw that last game, but picks up the kill on Cryogonal here. And Hydro Pump, because of the defense drop, and maybe even without, does pick up the kill. And Rotom takes a lot from a neutral Hyper Voice in Light Screen. That's he takes half. I mean, that's kind of crazy. Intimidate comes out onto the Incineroar, though Incineroar gets Intimidate of his own. And a miss on the Hydro Pump. Wow. The Hurricane's doing nothing. Hyper Voice, not able to kill either. And Parting Shot into the Salamence, meaning Dragapult is able to come out. Quick Attack is pretty fun because of the Fairy type Quick Attack due to Pixelate. It gets a 1.2 times attack boost and changes to Fairy type. Only does 15%, but breaks Sash if it theoretically is. And then Hydro Pump does a little bit as there's a free Phantom Force and also another free kill into the Rotom slot, though Salamence is now -3 special attack and wants to get off the field. Intimidate comes out as a protect from Salamence and Sylveon, meaning Phantom Force is able to get a free kill because it does break protect, and Incineroar wastes his turn here with a knockoff. And yeah, Saline even points it out, but he does fall for the protecting into Phantom Force twice, and Phantom Force not necessarily seen as a great move because of the it being a 2-turn move, but when your opponent can't protect into it, I mean, it could be a great option, as we're seeing in this battle. It's working wonders for Dori Masuda. And Goldengo is forced in, so we see the last 4 on the field, as Dragonarch Oko Salamence and does a little bit of chip to Goldengo, as Make It Rain comes out and puts Dragapult in the red and Instant quite low, though Instant is able to pick up the Flare Blitz and live at 6%. 11% left total on Dori Masuda's Pokemon. But, important note, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, that the Dragon Dart's chip into Goldengo maybe meant Instant lived, or maybe the crit meant that it killed. I don't know if either of those things are true, and it wouldn't have mattered. Maybe it mattered for differential, but Dragapult would have been able to clean it up with a Phantom Force anyways.
Yeah, and even it surviving could have possibly been a roll. We don't know that.
On Goldengo?
As far as
I think that crit maybe mattered. Hard to say, but if it did, and Goldengo had lived, it would have been actually 2 more differential for Saline, because it would have been he was able to kill Instant, and Dragapult would have died to its own life orb. So, or not necessarily 2 differential, it just hurts Dori Masuda's differential a little bit more. So, with that being said, let's move on to our final game of the week, which is Game 3 of this matchup. Immediately, Passimian and Meowscarada, a new Mon in this matchup, and Incineroar Arbok. So the double Intimidate lead means a double Defiant boost for Passimian, putting him at +2 when all is said and done. But he gets his attack lower twice, puts him at half, and then he gets a +4 boost, which Arbok, all he sees is the +4 boost, so he just copies that, and now Arbok is in a great position. +4 Arbok versus +2 Passimian, and then Instant and Meowscarada just for fun as well, though Fake Out is active on his end. So he's able to fake out the Passimian as a switch into Goldengo occurs, and Poison Jab into Goldengo doesn't do anything, so not necessarily the worst turn for Saline. It could have gone way worse. But also, Dori Masuda feels like he didn't gain a ton from this either, so not a great turn for either player. Dragapult switches in as Goldengo protects, anticipating a Dark type or move or a Flare Blitz maybe. And as Knockoff picks up the big Oko into Dragapult. This Passimian consistently proving that it's stronger than we expect it to be. As Arbok gets a Poison Jab and Passimian, actually reads the Protect, or maybe just sees that as the best move, and picks up the kill as Incineroar has his Fake Out and Intimidate reset, so Berserker's not in as good of a spot here. Knockoff comes out, and the 66 resisted because of that +4 attack on Arbok.
Yeah, no stab, and resisted is absolutely crazy.
And then Flare Blitz just picks up the big Oko into Berserker because it's not extremely bulky. It does go down here, and now it is Goldengo and Meowscarada in a pretty unwinnable battle, it looks like, because I mean, maybe Goldengo is faster, able to get off a lot of damage, but unless he can kill both here, he's in a pretty bad spot because both, if not at least one, should die this turn. And a Sucker Punch on Arbok means that Meowscarada does go down, and Make It Rain is probably not able to kill, and it doesn't kill either. Even Arbok holds on as Flare Blitz picks up the Oko. We learned that last turn the crit did not, in fact, matter. Or last game, it did not matter. As Goldengo just gets a big Oko from Inswin. And Dormasuda is able to clutch up the game.
Yeah, I mean, like, especially that game 2 kind of came down to the wire, keeping Dormasuda in this set and eventually winning it for him. So.
And apparently it was a roll on the Flare Blitz kill into Goldengo, though it shouldn't matter because Sucker Punch means that it's game over. You can click Sucker Punch and Flare Blitz for a guaranteed win into Goldengo. Plus there's a mod on the back. So overall, a lot of great stuff this week. I really enjoyed all of these matchups. And it's pretty cool that we now, I believe, only have 2 undefeated players in Juvie and Cybon, right?
Yeah. Do we want to go? Do we want to check like the standings or any MVP stuff? Or
let's do the Elysium and Fields of Punishment first.
Sounds good.
So,
Spam is very excited for Fields of Punishment and Elysium.
Yeah, and you know who isn't excited for Fields of Punishment? S&B, because unfortunately, I don't think there's a whole lot of competition this week. I think it was a pretty well played week overall, but just was completely unprepared. I think there are some things that are excusable, like not expecting skill swap pure power onto Snorlax. Yeah, that's reasonable. Not expecting Imprison from Espeon. It's a little less reasonable, but it is still pretty reasonable. Not running min speed on Torkoal, that's kind of inexcusable. I think that's kind of like team building 101. Just like run min speed on your very slow Pokemon. Especially something like Torkoal, like you're almost always running min speed Torkoal, unless you're trying to catch your opponent off guard with like Tailwind or something. It kind of does not benefit you at all. It was to not in this situation. I think it was just an oversight. And then, I mean, Eternum played great, don't get me wrong, but it felt like S&B just kind of had no chance of winning because of like the matchup and because of the team difference. There was a lot of health left on Eternum's side, even though SPM was full. He didn't have to reveal one game 2. And even though he revealed all 4, we saw that 2 Mons were at 38, 1 Mon was at 50, and 1 was at full game 4, and all 4 were alive. So, or game 2, sorry. And it feels like S&B could have done a lot more here. I will also say we give like honorary Fields of Punishment to those who forfeited. So Void gets like an honorary Fields of Punishment because we don't like forfeits. But it's not meant to say you suck. Fields of Punishment, in my opinion, I think Fields of
Mhm.
Punishment is designed to say, to call out people for not prepping like well or properly for their opponent, or making oversights or some things like that, where it's something that can be improved upon. It's not just kicking people while they're down. So I think like some takeaways are like always run Mint Speed Turkle, and then like the
Yeah.
clicking chilling water into Arcanine, like you could have easily OHKO'd with an Earth Power and saved yourself, but you clicked chilling water instead, and it didn't really work out. And then
Yeah.
with AV on Snorlax, especially the thick fat too, but this is a Pokemon where who deals with it? It's just Wordier. Wordier's the only physical attacker on this whole team, so that's another huge threat, or a huge problem. Sorry, for SMB if you only have special attackers. These are
Yeah.
things that like
And
he can improve on for future weeks.
yeah, and I also like I immediately like watching this game, like I'm sorry, S&B, like it did not like I did not I kind of I don't even know how to say it. It was brutal, and it was kind of rough to watch, especially seeing Snorlax outspeed um Torkoal and Trick Room. Um
It did kind of turn the tide of that
and
battle.
yeah. Um and I will say, like, I don't know, I don't think it would have helped too much, but I know that I think right before this week, S&B actually dropped Hisui and Typhlosion for Indeedee. And I'm not saying that that would have made the difference. And I know that
I
makes
don't
like
think it would have.
that
Yeah.
also removes like some of your Trick Room stuff. Um, but that's probably also a little bit better into that also helps a lot with that Snorlax being just completely immune to it.
Not
So who knows?
necessarily. I actually really don't think that would make a huge difference here, because Flash Fire, Arcanine is good
Yeah,
into
I
it.
don't either. But
Uh, Greninja is
it
good
didn't
into
seem
it.
like Indeedee was
Snorlax
doing.
is the
Yeah,
same, is as good to it. Espeon is the only kind of thing that is at a more disadvantage, maybe Medicham. But
yeah.
yeah, I wouldn't say
I'm just
that
saying
makes a
like
huge difference.
it's a more like consistent it's a little bit more consistent damage. Um and it didn't really feel like Indeedee was did a lot in this game. Like
Yeah, I think the team was too passive
that.
overall. Was a good lesson from this. And again, look, you need a good balance of physical and special attackers. We saw in Alberto's matchup with me, I ran full Fizz Def because he didn't have enough special attackers, and he already has adapted in picking up Galarian Slowking and Porygon Z, two very very powerful physical or special attackers, to help out his almost entirely physical team, and balances out a lot more actually. Whereas SNB feels like if these are the threats you're bringing, and they're almost all special, it's very easy to prep into that. Um, so, just something to consider for future weeks. I will also say that I feel like TBL didn't really have an answer for Araquanid, and sorry, who else was I thinking of? No, I think SMB didn't really have an answer for Snorlax, and TBL didn't really have an answer for Araquanid. There, you could argue the same with with Skeletor's a little bit, but I think this was the most egregious. And so yeah, I think Fields of Punishment goes to SMB this week. Also, thanks for stopping by, Juvie. It's good seeing you and other members, especially members of ODL. It's always cool seeing like you guys in the chat. It's a fun time. Makes you feel like you're streaming to somebody. Makes it more fun. So, thank you to you guys and anyone else who's watching the VOD. As we talk about Elysium now, so I think a tournament actually. I typically don't give Elysium to the same person that beat the person who had Fields of Punishment, usually because it's more like a loss on their part than a win on the other person's part. But here, Eternum actually did have a lot of good prep. I think the Imprison was great. I think Snorlax was just kind of an unbeatable Pokemon for SMB. So I think Eternum's definitely an option here.
Yeah. I also want to I do want to shout out because I know Spam mentioned this in the chat. Dory definitely even though that first game really did not go his way in the end. He was able to claw back and was able to pull it out. So
Yeah.
I think as far as the resilience goes on that part, I think that could also warrant Fields, not Fields of Punishment, Elysium.
Yeah, I think he didn't run anything weird on Instant necessarily, but he positioned Dragapult very well. He also positioned Instant very well. Cragganol was the thing that kind of felt useless here for the most part, but it stood up light screen. So it did feel useless in the first 2 games, but he didn't bring it game 3. Or maybe he did in the back, but he adapted at least to that. And he saw that Corv wasn't working game 1, right? Corv was pretty useless and took way more damage than he expected, so he benched it. I think that's good adaptability. That's something you kind of need in Pokemon for sure. If something's not working, don't keep bringing it because you're probably going to keep failing with it. Other considerations, I think you played well overall, though I think there are stronger options this week. I think same could probably be said of my matchup. I think I played pretty well overall, but I wasn't wowed by my gameplay by any means. I think Juvie and Soup had a very kind of neck and neck game, and part of me wants to consider Juvie a little bit more just because of how well Soup played in that game too, to claw back. But there was kind of very little resistance game 1, and I don't know. I feel like he did play very well, and I'm sure I'll see him in future Elysiums, but I don't think this was that necessarily as dominant of a week. And then Pilza felt
because he also got it last week, I think. Right?
Oh, I'm not sure if he did. I don't usually base that. I don't consider that when I'm thinking about this week though.
Just mention.
And then TBL felt more of the reason for the loss than Pilza necessarily. Even though Pilza again played great, I thought it was not as reliant on him. It was kind of more TBL not having an answer and him making the right plays to help him get to that end game. So I am personally between SNB, or sorry, not SNB, Eternum and Dori Masuda. Do you have one a suggestion between the two, or one that you're leaning towards as the guest?
I mean, honestly, I think we should listen a little bit to the chat here, because
you mean just Spam, who's just yelling Dory?
Spam and Table are talking about divine intervention with Dory.
Yeah, I really do think. Sorry, I keep going to your matchup instead of Eternum's, but I really do think Eternum has a very strong case. Again, it was a kind of simple win for him, but the prep was great and he played kind of flawlessly in a lot of ways. I think there were some mistakes he made with the Solar Beam maybe, but he played just very well. And also the Greninja set of clicking, he clicks Night Slash to assume, okay, it's a physical Greninja, because Greninja could be mixed, right? But he runs actually a true mixed Greninja, which he wasn't able to reveal, but it's max attack, max special attack, which is pretty funny. I think Eternum had great prep this week, so I'd be fine giving it to him. Dori Masuda played great. He also had some pretty cool prep, and I think the Dori Masuda's play might have been a little bit better for the most part, but he did kind of failed pretty hard game 1 in my opinion in a lot of ways, though he learned a lot as well as we saw.
Yeah, I think I'll leave it up to you, because I think either would be really good.
Yeah, I think I probably actually will give it to Eternum. I think this is probably the first time I'm giving it to the person that beat the Fields of Punishment player, but I think Eternum's prep and play was just so strong this week, it was kind of hard to deny. So a huge shout out to Dori Masuda, but I will go give the nod to Eternum this week. So yeah, congrats to Eternum for making Elysium, and shame on S&P. Or Fields of Punishment goes to S&P as well. So also, Saibon, yes, I will be updating the power rankings literally tomorrow, I believe. Maybe the day after, but there should be a video up Thursday, maybe Friday, of me updating the power rankings. So don't worry, they will be changed. And speaking of rankings, thank you for giving me that great transition. We can head on over to standings and take a look at our standings for this week. We can see that Juvie and Saibon are at the top, both 2-0, and both teams that were towards the bottom of the initial power rankings. Again, just based on their teams, they were down there. But Juvie made some good improvements to his team, and both the two of them have significantly outperformed my expectations, especially Saibon's team, which I thought kind of had no clear direction, and not in the same way like Salene's team did, or Eternum's team did, in like the sense of a lot of good mons, and you can kind of see some synergy between them, even though it's not as straightforward. They're still very good, and maybe doesn't have as great of speed control, still great Pokemon all around, so scary teams. Saibon's team felt like he had like some good duos, but I wasn't expecting it to find nearly the success it did. So this is very impressive to see him at the top, along with Juvie, who, as I mentioned, is using his team far better than I could have expected. And so it's pretty cool seeing them towards the top of the leaderboard. We have Voids at the bottom because of the forfeit, and then also Oedipus. But only 2 undefeated teams and 2 0-2 teams. That's really not bad. And for only being 2 weeks in, having 2 undefeated teams left is a little crazy. But consider we had 5 teams or 6 teams go 1-1, or sorry, start out with a win and then lose. So we have a pretty tight running. It's anyone's game, right? If TBL wins and Eternum loses, then the script could be flipped immediately, right? Where we have the number 12 team move up towards the top, and yeah, I think this is a really fun league because it's just so neck and neck a lot of the time. I'm personally rooting for a lot of the new players, like Juvie, Saibon are both new players towards the top here. Pilza, good friend, is making his way towards the top. He's number 6 right now, right? Salene making his return after not playing in Season 2. Eternum having a very dominant Season 2, or very well played Season 2, at least. Soup, a newcomer. Alberto, a newcomer. We have a lot of new faces, and some other good players. I feel like there's no kind of weak links this season. It should be a fun time seeing kind of how these standings change throughout the season. I'm sure we'll see some L's in this column, we'll see some W's in this column. I don't think we're gonna have any undefeated teams like we did last season. So should be really fun and tight race here. Let's take a quick look at the MVP standings real quick, as we can see that Juvie has placed Arcaludon at the top of the leaderboard, who is now 8-0 in his 2 sets. Very impressive stuff. Arcaludon was great Season 1. I expected people to have counters by now. Maybe I should start talking about how I think people can beat Arcaludon or help whoever's going up against Juvie prep, because I don't want the Arcaludon allegations to be true. Then Vergraph actually at the top, which is surprising for a mon that can tend to be a support mon most of the time. Pissimian at the top is no surprise. It has been a monster, dominated in his week 1 matchup against me, and he's played actually in 6 games, I believe. I don't know if he was brought all 6 of those games, but Salene has played in 6 games, so he's had the opportunity to kind of do more. You can see his both of his numbers are a little bit higher than most, And then to round off the top 5, we have Porygon 2, a little bit of a surprise, but it is a great Mon nonetheless. Very bulky, able to kind of stay around and pick up KOs. Not too surprising that only has 2 deaths. And Skillurge, mainly because of a great matchup this week. So yeah, we have, and then you can see some more kind of good Mons around here, though I'm sure this will look very different by the end of the season. So yeah, with that being said, thank you guys for coming. Do you have any final thoughts, Charcoal?
Not really.
All right. So, yeah, thank you guys for watching. As always, we always appreciate your support. And my week 1 video, it took a while, but it's out. And the week 2 video should be dropping tomorrow. And then either Thursday or Friday, we will have the power rankings be updated as well. So just kind of a lot more content on my channel as well. If you guys are interested, definitely feel free to check that out. And thank you guys for coming. We will see you guys next week. Peace.
Adios.